Hi, Namaste. I have the honor of participating in the book launch of a great personality. It's a surprise. It's that of Swami Mukundananda. As we know, he's a global spiritual leader and an alumnus of two big institutes, IIT Delhi and IIM Calcutta. But he left it. He left his career to pursue spirituality. He is one of the prominent bhakti saints of today, and he has written a wonderful book for the younger generations. It is my wisdom book. So I'm honored to ask a few questions regarding this and to clarify a few of my doubts. So welcome, Swamiji. Welcome. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Namaste Anand. What a pleasure
Namaste.
to join you in this conversation today.
It's my honor and privilege, Swamiji. It's such a great pleasure. This, let me tell you, it's a beautiful book with wonderful illustration and an apt explanation about rituals and slokas, about ethics, morality. It introduces the younger generation to the deep Indian spiritual knowledge. So it's a much needed book written in a very beautiful, elegant, and simple language. So I'm very fascinated about this. So I invite you to say a few words on why you chose to write this and what is the significance of this and how a parent can use this to teach the children.
Yes, Anand. Parents are always concerned about passing on the culture that nourished them, the culture in which they were brought up to the next generation. So, what is culture after all? When a group of people develop some common reference points on what they hold as excellence in thought, behavior, belief, values, growth, and these points of reference start getting passed down from generation to generation. That is what gets to be known as the culture of the community. Now, the world over, Indian culture is held in high regard. And naturally, parents look for ways and tools by which they can pass this culture on to the next generation. So, along with our publishers, Westland, we thought that it would be most helpful for the children and the parents to have a reference book which they can consult and to have ready on their fingertips mantras, shlokas, wisdom nuggets, and bhajans that could be committed to memory and thereby made a part of the children's personality as they grow up. That was the intention behind the book.
Swamiji, I have a doubt regarding the rituals. How relevant are they in this? Why people should follow some rituals? Because rituals are made for some other around this case. How are they relevant in this fast era of infinite knowledge and infinite information?
Yes. Rituals serve the external form. Any religion has got its customs and traditions and the essence. So, the essence of a religion is spirituality, the inner growth and the inner wisdom. And then the rituals or the customs form the outer structure. So, the rituals help us in developing the sentiments and thereby uplifting our consciousness. For example, we have the ritual that when you get up in the morning, before you place your feet on Mother Earth, say a little mantra, Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandale Pandite. Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Kshamasvami. O Mother Earth, the oceans are your clothes, and you are adorned with the wonderful mountains. You are the wife of Lord Vishnu. I am going to place my feet upon you. Please forgive me. So, saying a little mantra like this completely changes the consciousness of the child. They realize the existence of something sacred beyond the mundane that is around them. They expand their consciousness and realize that in their life they are indebted to so many things and so many blessings they receive, which otherwise people often take for granted. The earth we live in, the air that we breathe, the sunshine that we receive. So these little rituals, they serve the purpose of expanding the consciousness. Of course, Anand, your question is very valid because if the essence, which is the inner sentiments, gets lost, then it becomes an empty form. So let me relate to you a little joke. One Panditji, he used to do his pujas when people would call him in their houses, and he kept a cat. So in his home, when he would do the puja, the cat would create disturbance. Sometimes it would do meow meow, and sometimes it would drop the water pot. So Panditji would put it outside the room, close the door, and then do the puja. Now the cat would do meow meow from outside. Again, Panditji would be disturbed. So finally, he hit upon an idea and he said, all right, I will tie the cat with a rope by the side of the room. It will be engrossed in watching what I do, so it will not disturb me. Now, every time he would do a puja, he would have the cat tied by the side. Panditji passed away one day. His son now became the Pandit. He was called by a Yajman to do the puja. So all the samagri, the material was readied. And the Yajman said, Panditji, please begin. He said, but these items are not complete. There's one item still missing. They said, what is that? Get a cat and tie it there by the corner. But why should we get a cat for the puja? Because when my father used to do it, he would have a cat tied out there. So, likewise, when we forget the essence of that ritual, it becomes a mere physical drill. In this book, we have presented the external mantra to be said along with the meaning so that the inner sentiments can alongside be evoked.
That is a wonderful explanation, Swamiji. That was a hilarious story too about the priest and the cat. Uh, my another doubt which comes when we talk about rituals. See, I grew up in a family which followed all these rituals. I was exposed to a lot of mantras. My father used to teach me all these things. So up to say my 10th standard something, I was religiously following all these things. And then slowly I forgot doing these. But even from my childhood, my question was this. Why are these mantras, why should they remain in Sanskrit? Why can't it be in any Indian language or English, which we are all familiar with more? I have only the working knowledge, basic knowledge of Sanskrit, which I studied at that time. So many of these slokas, sometimes I feel if they are told in whichever language, whether it is Hindi or Tamil or Gujarati or Marathi or English, whichever the kid is familiar with or we are all familiar with, want it do more good. It is all about understanding it and doing it rather than mugging up something and just telling it.
So, Anand, you have very rightly said that understanding the mantra is more important. And saying it with bhav, with sentiment. Nevertheless, to evoke that sentiment is not easy. For example, Venkateshwar Bhagavan, who resides in Tirupati, is the same Venkateshwar Bhagavan who resides in so many cities around the world. But people are not able to realize the significance of his presence until they climb over the 7 hills and they go through all that. So technically, it is not necessary. God is everywhere. He's in your heart. You can sit here and make your thoughts divine. But most people require some kind of support. So just like you, although God is at home, you still find the need of visiting a temple. Likewise, the same wisdom is equally beneficial in any language. But when children learn it in Sanskrit, it helps their intellect develop the reverence that what we are receiving is an ancient wisdom that has been passed down from generation to generation. The Age of Enlightenment philosopher in America, Henry David Thoreau, he said of the Bhagavad Gita, I daily bathe my intellect in the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. It is as if an empire speaks to me. So that our intellect needs to be jogged a little to realize the importance of the gem of wisdom we are receiving. And just like any gem is precious, but when it's put in a beautiful golden ring, it gets further enhanced. Likewise, the wisdom is most useful, but when studied in an exquisite Sanskrit shloka or a mantra, it becomes even more attractive. Besides that, of course, Sanskrit is a very amazing language. I once came across a paper written by a NASA scientist in 1976. They were looking for a computer compatible language. They were thinking of developing a language, a spoken language that would be computer compatible. And this person, Mr. Riggs, he wrote a whole paper that there is no need to develop such a language. Just take a look at Sanskrit. Its grammar is so astonishing that it is completely computer compatible. So we have the good fortune of having such a treasure. Why not utilize that treasure that has been passed down from generation to generation, while at the same time enlivening it with the essence of the wisdom that is contained in that verse?
Thank you so much. Swamiji, another thing is about the curiosity of the child. Like when I was small, when I was in my teenage or in my childhood, if my father says to do something, I'll just do that. Even if I have any doubt, he used to encourage me to ask doubts and all, but there was a kind of reverence you keep, and you don't go beyond a limit to ask questions at that time, at least. Now, my son, who is 15, he doesn't follow any of these rules because the generation has changed. So if I tell him to do some rituals, he will be asking why I should do that. What is the benefit? What will happen if I don't do that? What will happen if I do that? If I say no, it will calm your mind. It will be easy. He said, no, I am bored. I don't want to do this. Why should I be calm? That's the next question. I am a child. I am in this age. I want to be energetic. Why should I be calm at all? I'm not an old man like you to be calm. This is the answer I get. So right. Any parents of teenagers will be familiar with that. So how do you answer them?
Yes, Anand, when children are in middle school or primary school, the cognitive intelligence, the IQ, becomes the focus of their work, their ability to analyze, to come up with solutions. But when they enter adolescence, they become teenagers, they realize there's another intelligence they need, which is emotional intelligence. Because life has become so complex, they need to understand their own emotions. They need to understand how to master their own emotions, and also how to empathize with the emotions of others. So they realize the importance of mind management. But then there is another intelligence that we need to help them appreciate, which is spiritual intelligence. Now, life always throws us choices. In this ethical dilemma, what should I choose? In this situation, what should my priorities be? How should I determine the goal of my life? So, these questions, how do we answer them? Every time we have a choice, we need some kind of a reference value system on the basis of which we decide. Otherwise, life becomes just too complex. So we need to be clear about what are my values in life? What is important to me? And these values will be determined by the beliefs we have established within ourselves. Now, in our educational system, we are helping children with IQ, cognitive intelligence, a little bit with EQ, emotional intelligence. But that spiritual intelligence is also necessary. The message is not effectively conveyed. And that is why people go through the educational system. They've learned to become engineers, doctors, MBAs, accountants, but they have not learned to manage their own life. When life throws some kind of bouncer at them, they feel crushed. They don't know how to handle themselves. That is why the children can be explained that these mantras are not about asking God for boons. They are about expanding our own consciousness and about trying to become a better person for ourselves. Now, either the child is such a super genius that he or she can establish complete value system absolutely on their own. If they think they can, they are most welcome, but they will realize it's a very formidable task. And a simple way is to access this wisdom that is inherent in our culture. So here we've got a tradition, a culture that was nourished by thousands of realized personalities, by rishis and munis and saints. And it is studied with these wonderful books of wisdom. If we wish, we can access all of this and utilize it in our lives. I think if the children can be taught that science is great, but science does not have values. Science will put nuclear energy at your disposal. But science will not tell you this is the good use of the energy and that is the bad use of it. And the consequence, we have progressed so much and got so many technologies today that with the help of genetic engineering, we can create GMO plant species. And we are on the verge of creating designer babies with human genome editing and test tube technology. However, we are completely at a loss on how to remove the evil in our own hearts. And that is the reason why today there's such an imbalance in the world, where everybody is talking about global warming and deterioration of the erosion of the environment. And excessive urbanization, depletion of mineral wealth, and non-renewable sources of energy. The spirituality is also essential in this mix. So when the Vedas told us you need spirituality, they did not say that boycott science. They said you will need both. Dve vidye veditavye parachaiva paracha. There's one branch of knowledge which will help you understand the phenomenal world around you and harness it for your bodily comforts. And there is another branch of knowledge that will help you understand the noumenal world within ourselves and manifest the internal divinity of our real self, the soul. We don't need to contradict these two. In fact, we should reconcile both and utilize both to reach the goal of our life.
Thank you. What a beautiful explanation. Thank you. Uh, one issue what happens here, this as adults we understand this. I was just presenting the problem which I face with the teenage kids, not just me, my friends' kids or anyone like that. Even I, in that age, maybe after 16 and 17 and all, I also started rebelling, asking questions, which is also a part of our civilization, that you keep searching for what is right. So the kind of questions, for example, Swamiji, we talk about morality. Morality keeps changing as per the Ra. When we tell a story from, say, Bhagavatam, when we tell a story from Ramayana, when we tell the tale of Shiva and the origin of Ganesha, even a small kid, I have faced this when I go and tell these stories, even a small kid will ask, who cuts off the head of a small kid when he says that you cannot enter? So if Lord Shiva cuts off, what is this? I cannot understand. They are genuinely confused. And when they ask that, even as an adult, I am also confused. Why should, if I come into my home, a small kid is standing at the door, and he says that please don't enter, my mother is taking bath, I am not going to chop off his head, right? So suddenly you don't understand how to explain. As a layman I am talking. I am not talking as a saint or anybody who can give beautiful explanation. But as a layman, I get stunned when this kind of questions come from the younger generation. How do you tackle this? Or Shurpanaga's thing, or like that, hundreds of, means whenever you are telling the story, these kind of things suddenly pop up. How do you tackle this?
Yes, Anand. These questions come up so often because our scriptures are full of these leelas of the Lord. And the leelas are very often so confusing. So the question does come up, like you said, that why would Shiv cut off the head of a child? Now, the Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas states that when Lord Shiv and Mother Parvati, they were getting married, at that time, they worshipped Ganesh at the time of marriage for auspiciousness. And the message there is that, look, Ganesh Tattva is eternal. That he is becoming a child of Shiva and Parvati is only a Leela. It's not that he did not exist before being born to them. And he came to them as a part of the Leela. So whenever these questions arise, why did Ram ask Lakshman to cut off the ear, nose of Surpankha? The answer is they are doing an act. They needed the Ramayana to proceed further, and Ravan had to be instigated to pull into the plot. So this became a way of instigating Ramayana. So in fact, Bhagavan Ram, when Surpankha said, "You are my beloved," now the scriptures say that every soul can look on the Lord as the beloved because we are a part of him. So Surpankha, if she approached Ram that you are my beloved, she was not doing such a terrible offense. But Ram needed that action to happen. So that is why the scriptures say that in his next avatar, he made up for it. The same Surpankha came as Kubja, the hunchback lady. And when Krishna came from Vrindavan to Mathura, she saw him and again she got infatuated. And she said the same thing, that I want you as my beloved. But this time, Bhagavan did not chop off his nose and ears. He actually put his two fingers under Kubja's chin, straightened her, and made her beautiful. So, in the case of Bhagavan, we should always bring this knowledge to mind that they are doing a Leela. Now, the question arises, why are they doing a Leela? The reason for that is Jeev Kalyan, the welfare of humankind. We human beings, for welfare, need to purify our mind. This mind robs us of all joy, throws us into the cesspool of negativity, anxiety, and stress. And we keep on trying to grapple with how to make ourselves positive. It doesn't work. So the scriptures say, look, a simple way of developing positivity is to purify your mind. And how will you purify the mind? By attaching it to the all pure. Now, that all pure, Bhagavan, if you just wish to meditate on the formless, it is not difficult, it's extremely difficult. Klesho dhikatarastesham, the Bhagavad Gita says. So, to make it easy, the Lord takes the avatar. He engages in various pastimes. We come to know of the Ram Roop, the Ram Nam, the Ram Leela, the Ram Dham, Ayodhya, and we use this Nam Roop Leela Gun Dham as a basis for bhakti. And we are easily able to take our mind to the divine. So it's such a simple and beautiful way that has enchanted the Indian mind for millennia. Look at it when the Ramayana first came on Doordarshan, how crazy the people went. I was in my teenage years and I was actually a young adult, and I would see myself that the streets of Connaught Place and Karol Bagh, the busiest bazaars in Delhi, they would be completely empty. But now you say, okay, that infatuation has finished. Actually, it has not. Because during the COVID, when the same Ramayana came again it broke all world records. So that has these leelas have nourished the Sanskriti, the culture of this great land for so long. And in them is embedded a beautiful way of taking your mind to the divine. So it requires a little bit of art. And the art is that in the Leelas of God, remember, He is just doing an act. The reality, He is all pervading, He's all powerful. So don't get misled by the fact that how come He doesn't know where Sita is. He knows very well. And that is why when Sati came in front, he immediately understood, oh, you are not Sita, you are Sati. So when we are able to surrender that and develop a little of bit of faith, we get the support required to take our mind to the divine.
One wonderful explanation, but again, a small this thing. When you tell this to the kids, the first question is, why should I believe? Why bhakti?
Mm-hmm.
Why? There are many paths in the world. Bhakti is one among them. If someone requires bhakti, let them take it. But why me? Is the first thing, because that's an age when they think everything is possible. that age, 15, 16, 14, 15, 16. They are superheroes, and they might have many problems, but in their minds, they are superheroes. The world is wide open. They are not beaten up with the life, and it's full of possibilities. That's when they have the super kind of confidence. Even I remember when I was like that, why to believe? Why bhakti? So how will a parent or a grandparent answer this? Bhakti is just one part. Even if we go with our rishis, there are so many methods from Shankara to various other great saints. Bhakti era itself is perhaps 1,000 years old. The prominence it gave before that, there was before Jnana Marga and Karma Marga. So why the emphasis on Bhakti? Why not the Buddha's path? Buddha also is an avatar of God. Why not Mahavira's path? Why not Charvaka's path?
Okay, Anand. Well, definitely our Sanatan Dharma is unique in the world in that it recognizes a variety of bona fide paths to reach the supreme goal. And the reason for it is it recognizes the variety in human natures. So it doesn't try to fit everyone in one slot. Just like no two leaves of a tree are alike, no two human beings are alike. So, based upon our propensity, our natural inclination, it gives Hatha Yoga for those who are extremely austere, Jnana Yoga for those who are extremely inclined to contemplation, Ashtanga Yoga for those who are more physically oriented, Bhakti Yoga for those who are more emotional. These various paths are presented by our Vedic literature, which is a blessing. And that is why this unique culture, where we respect all the cultures of the world, we respect all the religions of the world. Now, coming to our own Sanatan Dharma, when it comes to Jnana Marg and Bhakti Marg. So, Anand, when it comes to comparison between Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, people have this misconception that Bhakti is antagonistic to Jnana. Factually, it is not. Knowledge naturally leads to love. If I give you a gift and it's all tattered up in a packed and tattered clothes, and you say, my God, what kind of a worthless object I am being given? You have no knowledge of it. You will have no love for it either. But if I say, open it up, Anand, take a look at what's inside, and you unpack it and see that it's got priceless jewels, you will say, wow, what a gift I was given. Automatically, your love for it will increase. So the fact is, knowledge naturally leads to love or devotion. And devotion means that the mind is attached to the divine. When that happens, we get an awakening from inside, which is realized knowledge. Hence, bhakti leads to gyan, and gyan leads to bhakti. Both of these increase simultaneously. You first get a little bit of theoretical knowledge. In accordance with that, you attach your mind to God. And then you get realized knowledge and your devotion increases further. So they both increase simultaneously. And nevertheless, some people wish to follow only Gyan Yoga devoid of Bhakti. And others say that we will keep the scriptural knowledge and we will also engage in devotion. So the difference between the two is on Gyan Marg, you are relying entirely on self-effort. Like you said, that youngsters are proud and they're naturally inclined to that. So the mindset there is, I will do it. It's all up to me. And in Bhakti Marg, we are also relying on divine grace. Now, that concept of grace changes the perspective completely. It brings in the humbleness, which is, after all, the foundation of spirituality. And it brings divine protection. That is why the Nyaya Darshan talks about the Marjar Markat Nyaya. The monkey, when the baby monkey holds the mother by itself, the mother doesn't care. When the mother has to jump from one tree to the other, the baby had better hold on or it will fall down. And the kitten is held by the mother. When the kitten needs to be transferred, the mother holds it and takes it to the other place. Likewise, the consciousness in Gyan Marg is, I will do it. I can do it. That is fine. But the Bhakti Marg is far easier. That is what the verdict in this present age, you said, like this is the age of Kali. So in this age of Kali, when people are disturbed, when the atmosphere is polluted, there's so many distractions, Bhakti provides the easier option. And remember that Bhakti is not contradictory to Gyan. That's why the Bhagavad Gita says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavan Mam Prapadyate. Arjuna, after lot of cultivation of knowledge, when you realize Vasudeva Sarvamiti, then you decide to surrender. So that knowledge, when it reaches that ripened state, it will induce the soul towards Bhakti.
Thank you. What a beautiful explanation. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will ask a few slokas which I found. If you can please explain it, I'll be really grateful. This is on kindness on page 42 of the book. This one. Can you please explain this? Moolam Bhujangaiga, Sikhiram Bhujangaiga. Can you please explain the meaning of this sloka?
Okay. So, Anand, what we have done is that apart from the mantras, the shlokas, and the bhajans, we have got wisdom nuggets. And those wisdom nuggets are on different themes. So, the one you have pulled out, Moolam Bhujangai, Shikharam Vihangai, Shakham Plavangai, Usumani Bhingai. So the verse is a spectacular way of highlighting the virtue of kindness. That just look at the sandalwood tree. It serves so many purposes. The roots, they provide shelter to the snakes. And the leaves above, they provide fodder and support to the birds. The branches, they enable monkeys to play around. And the flowers, they cater to the honeybees. So let us take inspiration from this and think about what we can do for others. So the lower consciousness is all about I, me, and myself. And as we rise, we want to shift that I to we. As somebody said, that when I changes to we, then illness changes to wellness. So the bane of civilization, the biggest problem is not global warming or climate change. It is the selfishness in the human heart. And if we, rather than looking on life as an ice cream cone that we can enjoy as much before it melts, can change our consciousness to see life as a candle and give out as much light as we can until life is over. So, the purpose of the verse is to inspire the quality of kindness in the young ones.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Another sloka is about respect. This is in page 89. It talks about Guni Gunam Veti na Veti Nurgunai, Bali Balam Veti na Veti Nurbala. Can you please explain this?
Definitely. So the verse says that to appreciate the good in others, you need to be good yourself. To appreciate strength in the others, you need to be strong yourself. The cuckoo bird, it appreciates the coming of Vasant, the spring season, not the crow. For the crow, it's all the same. Likewise, the mouse cannot appreciate the strength of the lion, but the elephant can. The purpose of this verse is to encourage seeing good in the others. The tendency of fault finding becomes one of the very downgrading defects in the personality. Because whatever we focus upon in others, that is what starts developing in ourselves. So, people who are habitual fault finders, they themselves don't become aware of their own defects, don't try to improve them, and their mind becomes miserable. So, to actually see the good in others is a great virtue. There's a story from the Mahabharata that Guru Dronacharya, he once called Yudhishthir and Duryodhan and said, Duryodhan, go out into Hastinapur. If you find anyone who's better than you, come and report to me. And he said to Yudhishthir, you also go out. If you find anyone worse than you, come and tell me. Duryodhan searched and searched and searched. And he came back and said, Gurudev, I tried very hard, but I didn't find one person better than me. On the other hand, Yudhishthir came and said, Gurudev, I tried, but I could not find anyone worse than me. I looked, ultimately at the end, I discovered this man. He was drawing water out of the well. And since it was Nirjala Ekadashi today, I thought, oh, he's going to be drinking water. He is the worst. But then he did not drink it. He took a bath in it. And then I realized I am the worst for seeing faults in him. So really, it requires heroism. It requires virtue and goodness in ourselves to see goodness in the others. And this verse is encouraging us to replace the fault-finding nature with the good-finding tendency.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Another verse which interested me is actually in the next page itself. It's about the integrity. There's Ego Dharmaha Parasreya Shamaika Shanti Ruttama. Can you please explain?
Okay. Yes, Anand. The verse says that the highest auspiciousness is achieved by dharma. So we always have the option of immediate gratification and immediate pleasure versus that behavior which is auspicious and truly beneficial. So the verse says, if you wish to invite auspiciousness in your life, then follow dharma even though it is inconvenient. Likewise, if you wish to achieve peace, then learn to forgive. People harbor grudges. And this is one thing that gets worse the more you nurture it. That is why some people say that keeping a grudge is like drinking poison and hoping that the other person dies. So, to release that grudge is the way to peace. And the third point it says is, how do you look at things? So, you utilize jnana chakshu with the eyes of knowledge. Your whole perspective changes. Now, we may say, this person is so bad, he's from this state and he's from this country. But when you bring the eyes of knowledge, everyone is a part of God. Everybody is like myself. Through that, your whole perspective of looking at things will change. And the fourth part it says is that if you wish to find true happiness, then follow the path of non-violence. So truly, when we do bad to the others, we actually end up doing bad to ourselves. Because first we bring that thought within ourselves, he is an awful guy, I need to hurt him. Now, hurting the other person happens later, but the thought hurts ourselves first. Likewise, when we do good to the others, we end up doing good to ourselves because we change, we bring beneficial, compassionate thoughts to ourselves. And that is why it says that if you follow the path of non-violence, your own mind will start becoming pure, and that will bestow ceaseless happiness upon you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful explanation. I really enjoyed this conversation. I was able to clear many of my doubts. Thank you so much. And I read this book, a beautiful book. So, if you are anyone watching this, if you are a parent or a grandparent or an uncle or an aunt, this is a great gift to your kids. This, as Swamiji had beautifully explained, introduces us, our children, to our culture, spirituality, and shows them a great path. This book is available in Amazon and also in the bookstores. So please grab a copy. Please give it as a gift. This could be the best gift you can give to your child, your friend's child, as a birthday gift, as a New Year gift, or just like that, a gift. It's a wonderful book. And thank you so much, Swami Mukundananda ji, for allowing me to participate in this and ask a few questions to you.
Oh, Anand, thank you for the very kind words. You are such a famous writer and you're doing so much of good work yourself. It was a pleasure to be in conversation with you. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.